Strap in for the world's fastest half hour. You're on the straight line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And brought to you by Hercules Tires and Grunt Style Apparel. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Herbert and Ralph Sheheen.
Well, the final parachutes have been pulled and the champions have been crowned of the 2018 NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the studio here in Concord, North Carolina. Ralph Sheheen with you. And once again, Fly Guy not here today, but he's on the phone. Doug Herbert joining us. How's it going down there, Doug? What are you flying in today?
Oh, man. Well, it's working good. I'm down here getting my type rating for a Hawker 400, which is a little jet, 10-passenger or so jet. So I'm down here getting my license to do that, and it's really a lot of work. It's about a 2.5-week course. So they really require you to know quite a bit before they let you take a bunch of people up and fly around 500 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I like that theory. So a B-25 last week and a Hawker jet this week. What's next?
Well, I don't know. Luckily, I already crossed up my bucket list. I got to fly with the Air Force Thunderbirds back a few years ago in an F-16. So that's already crossed on my bucket list. I don't really have much left on my flying bucket list. I've got most of it taken care of, but we're pretty happy, and it's a lot of fun. It's really just a good learning experience to learn about all these different kind of systems and really get your brain thinking and coordination, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying doing it. And luckily my father-in-law has a Hawker jet, so I get to go fly that once in a while too, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, without him in it, right?
Yeah, he said, Doug, I'm not flying with you until you have like 10 years of experience, so it might be a little while.
Yeah, unfortunately, the day you wanted me to go with you, whenever that is, I'm not available either. It's weird. My schedule just happens to fill up like that. So, all right, so let's talk.
Ralph, come on.
Let's talk about drag racing and champions being crowned this week. It's pretty outstanding. Everybody's title pretty much went, I think, the way we thought it would going into the weekend. Steve Torrence had already locked it up. J.R. Todd was probably the tightest one there, I think, and he ended up pulling it off with height, having issues early on in the day. Tanner Gray didn't have to do too much to get his title, and Matt Smith now, what, a 3-time champ?
Well, yeah, and Matt Smith was amazing. Went down there and just absolutely crushed everybody on performance. At the race, for the whole weekend. So that was pretty unbelievable. I was pretty excited to see Matt Smith, the low ET top speed, winning the race, winning the championship. All the champions actually this weekend, they cleared the table. They won the race, they won the championship. Man, it's just the people that were on the momentum, they kept that momentum and continued right through till the final win light came on at Pomona.
We're going to have a chance to chat with Torrence here in a little bit. He's going to be calling in our Racing Electronics hotline. I just can't believe he won every event in the countdown.
Yeah, and as far as I know, I think that's the only time. I don't remember ever another time in history when somebody won 6 races in a row. That's just I'm almost certain that no one has ever won 6 races in a row. So that is absolutely an incredible feat, and just it goes a lot to say about these guys. The performance, the continuity that they have with their team is just unbelievable. I think Richard Hogan, Bobby Lagana, the whole team. You have one guy that makes one small little mistake, and you can't win 6 races in a row, including Steve Torrence, right? Winning races on hole shots along the way, and everything they did was just absolutely incredible. I'm just so impressed with the performance of Torrence and his team. I just don't even know what to say.
I think it's really hard for somebody who's not a part of the drag racing scene to truly comprehend just how remarkable that is when you think of how many rounds he had to go, still winning each and every time. And when you mix into that the volatility of a Top Fuel dragster and how simple it is for things to go really wrong, whether it's smoking the tires or blowing up an engine or just, not having the reaction time at the light. So many simple little things could go wrong, and they blew through all of it and won them all.
Yeah, and that's one thing I want to ask Steve about is making those 24 runs in a row or 24 elimination runs in a row without a loss. That's unbelievable. And then him going up there second round, racing his dad. And, I mean, they had a real race. There was a side-by-side, really awesome race. I'm trying to pull up the numbers in front of me, but they ran Steve ran a 367 to his father's 371. I mean, that's, there's no races being thrown there. That was like a drag race down to the end. Obviously, his dad, Billy Torrence, wanted to win the race too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then here's J.R. Todd, who comes into this thing, and all of a sudden at the back end of the countdown, he just finds it all. And he told us, I believe it was Brainerd he was talking about, where he said they really seem to have found something that made a difference for them. It was one of the rounds here late in the going. It might not have been Brainerd. It might be off a little bit there. But he said it was all of a sudden they just found something, and that's where they found the magic mix for them.
Yeah, and he talked a little bit about it. A lot of the things with the Toyota, Slugger Labby, and the TRD development team, I think they have helped a lot. I think they help a lot of the Toyota teams, but I think it's been specifically quite a bit of help to the Coletta team and J.R. Todd with that DHL Toyota. But I know Connie is so proud and so happy, and obviously Scott Coletta's name is still on the side of that car. It means a lot to everybody that works over there at Coletta Motorsports to see that car winning like it is, and to see Scott's name on the side of that car. It makes me, gives me chill bumps every time I look at it. I just think it's so cool.
No doubt about it. Speaking of cool, did you see the video of those guys celebrating post-race in Pomona, mixing margaritas with an 11,000 horsepower nitro motor?
Well, that's Del Worsham. Del Worsham built that thing. Del and Chuck Worsham built that thing years ago, but it's got like regular Top Fuel engine, shoots flames out of it, and they've got it hooked up to basically like 55-gallon drums that are margarita mixers. And so that thing, that's probably the world's only nitro-powered margarita mixer machine. And you can thank the Worshams for coming up with that, but that thing is unbelievable. That is really cool, and a lot of margaritas drink, I'm sure, after that.
pretty outstanding bunch, no doubt about it, and they deserve every bit to celebrate that. The other pretty good celebration was it had a bit of a challenge to it. Tommy Johnson, boy, he really gets all the way to the end of the finals area, and we missed a lot of that in the initial round of the coverage because the championship being clinched by JR. But Tommy, issues with the chutes, gets into the sand, but he also took a Hellcat home yesterday.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess I'd go into the sand if I get to take a Hellcat home too, so that's okay.
Yeah, pretty good deal organized there within the team. And we're going to be right back as we're going to have Steve Torrence, the newly crowned Top Fuel champ, joining us on a Racing Electronics Hotline right after this. Stay with us.
Things happen fast in racing, and if you don't know where to look, you can miss it all. With Legend from Racing Electronics, you'll never miss another moment. Legend gives you live fan vision video, in-car cameras, and stats at premier National Series events, and the next generation race scanner for unfiltered driver and crew audio at any motorsports event nationwide. Race fans have never been closer to the action. Welcome to the future of the fan experience. Learn more by visiting racingelectronics.com.
NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert here to talk about safe driving. In early 2008, my two sons were killed in a car accident that was caused by speed and inexperience. After the accident, I learned that over 6,000 teenagers each year are killed in car accidents, so I formed a nonprofit organization called Brakes. Brakes stands for Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe. Please visit our website at putonthebrakes.org to learn more about responsible driving and what you can do to keep our roads safe.
Clutch Coffee Bar in Mooresville, North Carolina is redefining the drive-thru coffee game in Race City, USA. The Clutch experience is quick, efficient, and personal. Unmatched customer service is the name of the game. Clutch Coffee Bar offers signature espresso drinks, classic coffees, custom-flavored infused energy drinks, smoothies, and more. With over 25 flavors, there's something for everyone. Visit our two locations in Mooresville, 356 Williamson Road and 154 West Plaza Drive. Open daily 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. Power up today with Clutch Coffee Bar.
Welcome back to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Ralph Sheheen and Doug Herbert.
Back with us here for more MRN Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts, and all of our guests joining us on our Racing Electronics hotline. And that brings us to the newly crowned Top Fuel Champion, Steve Torrence. Steve, welcome aboard once again.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me back on. It's pretty neat.
Well, listen, you claim a championship, you're going to get a call. I promise you that. And, boy, the stats you guys bring to the table with this title are just remarkable. Can you realize and get your head around the fact what you guys did here?
You know, honestly, right now, probably not. I talked to Lewis Bloom a little bit last night, and he was telling us some of the stats, and just it's pretty unbelievable what we've been able to accomplish, going 24 straight rounds in the countdown. And, you know, those were some tough rounds, too. I mean, that was a tough round in the final yesterday against Tony and against Brittany, against my dad. I mean, we had to work for that one yesterday, and just to keep going and doing what we've been doing, it is difficult to wrap your head around right now.
Steve, racing a Top Fuel car, making it go down the track 24 rounds in a row is unbelievable, but winning 6 races in a row in the playoffs, your back's against the wall, you had to feel a little bit stunned from last year. You guys, I mean, in my opinion, you had really the dominant car the whole year, and just, had that problem at Texas, and you weren't able to recover from it quite quick enough. But bouncing back from that this year, man, you guys just showed everybody what you're made of. I think Richard Hogan and the crew, I don't know that you could say enough about these guys and the job they did putting that car together, giving it to you perfectly, and then you going up the starting line and winning your job on full shots in any way that you had to.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, at the end of the day, those boys right there, Richard Hogan, Bobby Lagana, every one of those guys on that whole team, they rose to the occasion when they needed to. They maintained a level of consistency throughout the year that just the last 2 years, really, where they don't make mistakes. They go and do what they need to do and give Richard the car that he needs to tune, and it does the same thing every time. And then, like you said, to go 24 rounds in a row. I looked back and was thinking about it this morning. We had a little snafu first round at Charlotte, and then yesterday first round where it went out and rattled the tire, and we were able to still get the win. I pedaled it and got it to hook up, but, that's 22 rounds that nothing went wrong, and it went out there and ran what it needed to win the race. So I can't give those guys enough credit, and I firmly believe they're the best in the business. Those guys, I'll put them up against anybody.
Steve, the thing that amazes me is the volatility of a Top Fuel car making a pass, not just the brutality of the engine and everything that's a part of that, and 11,000 horsepower nitro and all that, but what it's capable of doing, spinning the tires so easily and finding the traction, and you not hitting the light just perfect. There's so many little things that can go wrong there. How does it all come together?
If I could tell you that, I would try to write it down and sell it, but I don't know. I mean, it's just the grace of the good Lord looking after us and everybody doing their job when we needed to, and going through what we went through last year. It changed every one of our mindsets. We didn't recover the way that we should have after the crash in Dallas. I think that now we're prepared for that. We're probably over-prepared for any scenario, and when you feel that way, and Doug, you have to learn how to win. You have to learn how to win a race, control your emotions, and handle the pressure. And it's the same thing with winning a championship. You have to compartmentalize all that and just race the race that's at hand and go to the next round, and not look at the big picture and not look at the next race or winning the championship or any of that, because those points are going to take care of themselves. You got to do the same job every time and beat the guy beside you.
Hey, Steve, tell us about your second round race against your dad, Billy. I mean, that was a real race. Anybody that was betting person would have probably said, there's no way, he's going to let his dad go up there and beat him and take a chance on not letting Steve get this history-making 6 wins. But that was a race, man.
Yeah, and, I think that a lot of people didn't think that it would be, and I don't know why. I think that we've shown pretty clearly throughout the year that when we pair up against each other, I mean, it's a race. We've had some of the closest races of the year were between my dad and myself, and there were some people talking trash on social media about Vegas and, oh, Billy laid down and this and that, and I had to point out that it pushed the head gasket out and blew up. I mean, it was a pretty costly way to try to throw a race if that was how we were going to do it. And my dad is as competitive as I am, and we race for bragging rights. And, you know, at the end of the day, we were already the champs, so we needed to go out and kick his butt. And I was in the lounge talking to Hogan, and Billy comes in and goes, well, what are y'all going to do? And he goes, I'm figuring out how to kick your butt. Now go back to your own trailer. So it's you know, it's a battle. It's a brawl, and we don't have team orders. We go out there and race, and it's just we do this for fun.
You know, we had an opportunity, Steve, to show the video of you receiving that belt for the sweep, the wrestling style belt. Were you surprised by that, and where's that going?
That's going to go in the trophy case at the office right there with the championship trophy. And I was surprised by it. I didn't know that they were going to do that. And that's all credit due to Al Rondon from Mellow Yellow and Coca-Cola. He's become a good friend of mine. And I think what he told me they were going to do is they were going to make a trophy. I don't know if they're going to call it the Steve Torrence Award or what it's going to be, but they're going to bring it out every year at the beginning of the countdown and see who can try to go 6 for 6 if it can get done again. And if you do, you get your name put on the trophy.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Steve, tell us about the final round going up there against Tony Schumacher. You pulling out a 29 light and just, I mean, you saved. That was just an unbelievable race in the final.
I knew that Schumacher was going to be there. I talked to him before the round, and we were discussing how momentous the round would be. That would be for me to sweep the countdown and be the first to ever do it. And then it was the last race for him with the Army, and they had won their first Pomona with the Army on the car 19 years ago, and he was wanting to bookend it, and I was doing everything I could to stop him from doing it. So I rolled that thing in just a little bit, about 100.5, and really was up on the wheel driving and knew that when you got the guy over in the next lane that's the winningest Top Fuel driver ever, and you're trying to go 6 in a row, you better be on your game and ready for whatever is about to happen. And it's tough. I mean, Tony's a good friend of mine, and I think that he's the best. I mean, he's proved it time and time again that when the pressure is on, he just rises up to the occasion more and more. And that's what it takes to be an 8-time champion. I mean, you've raced with us all out there, and it's difficult, but he's good.
I got to believe you might be the one and only driver on the tour this year who's sorry to see the season come to an end. Am I right about that?
No, you're not right. I'm glad it's over with. I would have been happy if we'd only raced like 4 or 5 races and said, "Oh yeah, we won them all. Let's go home." It's anything can happen. They're Top Fuel cars. I mean, they can blow up, catch on fire, run into stuff, whatever. And you know, the longer you go, winning race after race after race, just the more pressure's on you and the more difficult it becomes to not make a mistake. And I'm glad it's over with. I'm looking forward to going home and getting a little rest and relaxation, doing some whitetail deer hunting, and getting some work done. I got to make some more money to go out here and try to race this race car again next year.
Hey, Steve, I'm sure that Richard Hogan and Lagana and those guys, they're going to be working hard to make sure that car comes out and you can defend your championship next year. But hopefully they're going to have a little bit of fun here celebrating the wins that you had. What are you going to be doing over the winter? You said you're going to go hunt some whitetails. What else? What all do you have planned? You going to go to any warm destinations or something fun over the winter?
You know, Texas is a pretty warm destination. It doesn't get too cold down there. But I don't know. We may try to make a trip somewhere. And my girlfriend really likes the beach. I'm not a big fan of the sand or the salt water, but sometimes you got to give in just to make everybody happy. So we may do something. But Bobby and Richard and all of them, I've got them all convinced to go to the banquet. I don't know if any of them have ever even been to the banquet. I know Hogan talked to Carducci, the tuxedo guy, and I think the last time he went was 1979. So it was a big feat just to get him to go. But I'm excited about it. We're going to have a good time tonight. We've got a big hotel room, so we're all going to get together and swap some stories and have a couple cocktails before it starts this afternoon, and just to get to enjoy each other. We're a real close-knit group, and these guys are all brothers to me, and this is a special deal. You know, this is a lifelong goal, not only for myself, but for every one of them. I mean, when you pretty much make up your mind you're going to be a drag racer and work on one of these teams, you know, you give up everything else. So I'm proud of them.
Well, one thing I do know you're fond of is winning Wallies, and you've done a bunch of that this year. Congratulations to the 2018 Top Fuel Champion, Steve Torrence. Steve, thanks for being on with us, and enjoy that championship.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Steve Torrence joining us on our Racing Electronics Hotline. We'll be back for more.
Welcome to the Speed Sport News Center. I'm Derek Franciglio.
Suzuki presents Speed Sport.
These are guys that you can take anywhere in the country and they can win on any given night.
Oh! What a great shot.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. Take down the number now for the Federal Tax Management Hotline, 800-242-1706, 800-242-1706.
You're staged for another run on the straight line. Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Once again, here's Doug and Ralph.
Well, this is it, the final pass, or final segment, we should say, I guess, of the 2018 season for Doug and I here on MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And you know, for 3 decades, Racing Electronics has been the #1 choice for racing scanners, headsets, and the popular FanVision handheld unit. Racing Electronics provides the ultimate fan experience for drag racing fans. Stop by our trackside locations or visit racingelectronics.com for more information. And thank you to the folks at Racing Electronics for bringing us all of our guests throughout the course of the 2018 season, like we just had with Steve Torrence. And of course, Doug Herbert himself is in on our Racing Electronics hotline right now as he joins us while he's going through some flight training. So, Doug, before we wrap up the season, we've got one more red light, green light. And since you've been sky high flying around, I figured I would come up with our subject matter for red light, green light, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts for our final show of the season. And you know, all 4 of our champions for 2018 were our winners at the season finale this year. What do you think of that?
That is definitely a green light. I don't know. The only thing that could possibly be conceived about that to be a red light is that Tanner Gray is apparently not coming back to race pro stock again next season. That might be the only red light part of it. But having all of the professional winners winning that world final race out of Pomona, I think that's just absolutely amazing. And that is a huge green light.
Yeah, and I think it really shows just how strong each of those competitors were, that not only do they show the consistency that it takes to win a championship, but they showed just their strength of their teams, their organizations, and them as athletes to go out as winners at the season finale.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Winning the championship, NHRA Professional Championship is, you could do it like Steve Torrence did and go out and win 6 races in a row, but mainly what it takes is it's just being there every single week. You go to sleep thinking about drag racing. You dream about drag racing. You wake up and you think about drag racing. There's nothing else besides winning a drag race that gets into your head. And I remember talking to Big Daddy Don Garlitz when I was just first started racing 30 years ago or something. And he told me, he said, Doug, I eat, sleep, drink, think drag racing all the time. That's all I do. And I think that's why I'm good at it. And I'm pretty sure that you know, you can't argue with that mentality that Big Daddy has. I mean, it's not as good as there gets. I think that's about the same thing that we could relate probably over to John Forrest, I suppose, nowadays.
Well, just before we let you go, Doug, as they get ready to celebrate their championships, those four and their teams are probably having one set of conversations. Everybody else that got beat this year, probably having another set of conversations as they just close out Pomona and get ready to go back there in February. There's a lot of others that are going to be pretty hungry and gnawing at themselves about what they could have done differently.
Oh, absolutely. I look at Clay Millican. I mean, he went out there and set low ET and #1 qualifier at 10 or more races this year, and then to, you know, just have the inconsistency that they had and not be able to get it done. I think that Clay and his team are going to be kicking themselves, but that's the way, you know, that's drag racing. That's the way it goes. So, yeah, you're exactly right. They're going to be spending the winter about thinking, what do they need to do to change the number on their car to #1?
Is there any other organization that you're going to be wondering about or thinking about or keeping an eye on in the off season that could maybe see some big changes as to how that team looks? Will they look differently when we come back to Pomona in February?
Man, you know, well, I know Clay Millican for one. Yesterday, David Grubnick departed as being crew chief, and then he's got his old IHRA crew chief, Mike Clover, that he's worked with a long time coming back there. So I think that's going to be a big change. You know, who knows? Will Clover be able to keep that car running the way that it's been running this year and get a little more consistency? I think that's what Clay and his team were thinking. You got to wonder about what's going to happen over at Cleta Motorsports. I mean, Jim Oberhofer was with Connie over there for over 30 years. He was on Scott's team back with Dick LaHaye in the 90s when they won back-to-back championships. Now, Jim O is not there anymore. John O is a crew chief over there for J.R. Todd on the DHL car. When I talked to John Oberhofer a few weeks ago, he said he had never been to a drag race in his life that his brother didn't go with him. And so that's a big change. Are things going to change over there at Coletta's? I don't know. I'm curious to hear about what's going on. I got a feeling there's going to be some changes. What will it be? Who knows? But I think that's definitely something to think about. And then the Pro Stock cars next year running a limited schedule. That's going to be another big thing. What are the changes that are going to happen to some of those teams like Greg Anderson, Jason Line? The teams that are out there doing that full time. I don't know. That might not be a full time type of a deal then when they're running less races.
Yeah, I think that's one I'm really interested in too. Will that different schedule add or subtract some of those teams?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know myself. I would have to think that it would hurt them, but then, NHRA's idea is that it will help because it'll be less money they'll have to spend on the expanded schedule. Maybe some of those guys will go out there and get those factory hot rods and go out and race Leah Pritchett and do that, the factory thing with the Chargers and the Ford, the Challengers and the Ford Mustangs and the Chevrolet cars. I don't know. That would be kind of cool. I think I'd like to see that. And I think most of the fans like to see those cars that you can actually go buy at the showroom racing down the track.
February 7th through the 10th, Doug, 2019. Mark it on your calendar. That's when they stage them again. That's when the Lucas Oil Winter Nationals will take place back at the Fairplex at Pomona. But for now, the engines are silenced, and so are we. Doug's going to get that license finally and come back here to Charlotte, and we'll be back with you beginning of 2019. For Doug Herbert, I'm Ralph Sheheen. For all of us here at MRN Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts, so long.